Monday, February 18th, 2019. Courtney is on the show today. It's Monday, and our cohort is still in Florida vacationing. I'm sure he's having a great time without us.
So.
Now, you leave tomorrow.
Yep, I'm on a 10 a.m. flight.
Oh, so that should be fun. And where are you going?
I'm going to Key West, Florida.
Oh, we love Key West.
I'll probably pass Tristan in the air somewhere.
Yeah, because he's coming back when you're leaving. And so then he's going to fill in for you while you're gone. And then we all should be back right after that.
Back to normal.
Yeah, it'll be back to normal. Wasn't it fun having the adoption story, the Haddock family, on Friday?
Wasn't that so wonderful?
I love that story. And I love Caleb and his brothers. And
so inspiring.
Yeah, very inspiring, because if you haven't watched the story yet, she never intended to be a parent or to do any of this. She thought maybe she might foster some girls.
Teenage girls.
Yeah, and she's got boys.
Like 10-year-old boys.
Yeah, and she's been taking boys in, and she does a wonderful job, but their adoption story is just kind of magical, and I like that. Today, Courtney, we're going to do something fun.
What are we doing?
So we're going to go on social media, and we're going to go into some of the foster support groups, like in New York and California and the different places. And we're going to see what some of the questions are that they have, and we're going to address them right here.
Q&A, I love that.
Foster Life today. And so tune in, because if you've been on social media recently, we might be talking about your story and address some of those issues. Coming up today on Foster Life.
If you'd like to share your adoption story,
we want to encourage adopted families and foster parents who are currently adopting. So we'd love to hear your story. Just email us at producer.fostertv@gmail.com,
and we'll get the conversation started.
Hey, welcome back to Foster Live. Courtney and I here on Monday.
Partying it up.
Yeah, Tristan's gone, and so when the boss is away, the mice will play. And we've been playing all day today. We're having a good time and a good show, but we're going to do something a little different. We've been going out to social media and kind of looking at what the questions are across the country, not just here in our state, and seeing if we can shed some light on things. So the first question is from Angie Lopez in Los Angeles, California. She wants to know if, one, it would be okay. She had a 16-year-old foster son who reunificated with Biomom. And first of all, she wants to know if it's acceptable to ask Biomom if she can still see foster son 16. And if so, is that a healthy relationship to have? What do you think, Courtney?
I think that's kind of the ultimate goal of foster care. Is a lot of times kids come into care because their families don't have any support systems to care for them if there's a problem.
Right.
And so as a foster parent, your job is to step in and be that support for the family and for the child. And if the parent is reaching out and asking, hey, do you want to have visits, or are you reaching out to ask for visits, I think that's perfectly acceptable. Obviously, double check with your caseworker that is an okay thing to do.
Right.
Or your licensing worker or a state board who would know absolutely 100% sure. Because obviously, I don't work in California. But I think that's perfectly acceptable. You're going to be the number one resource. You have this child for a certain amount of time in your home. You have made a connection with them. You're a great resource to answer questions for him. You're a great resource to know if mom is having trouble that might not keep the child back in the home. If mom has a drug issue, you're a great resource to say, hey, I think she's using again, and to take protective custody of that child in that case.
Right, and also to just lend support to the family.
Yeah,
a lot of times with the one child that we have that went home, Dad will call me and say, hey, this is going on, what do you think? And we'll kind of talk it over together, and we'll kind of make some decisions and figure out how we're going to proceed together. And I think that that's a wonderful support to have. Great question, Lopez. In Indiana, Brian and Christy want to know, how does subsidy work, and what are some of the things that you want to watch for in your negotiations with subsidy?
Well, I'll be honest, I don't have a lot of experience with subsidy negotiation because it's not something we do here. We have a base rate and then we have a medical rate, and that's all she wrote in our state. But maybe, do you know anything about that?
Yeah, so one thing that you want to make sure when they are writing subsidy in Missouri, and I would think that it's similar in other states, one thing that you want to make sure that they write in there is respite. So if when you're negotiating or you're doing your contract for subsidy, they have the opportunity to include respite or not include respite. And you want to go ahead and make sure that you get that. And the reason being is, if for any reason you kind of need a break, and these kids come with a lot of stuff from their past, and you never know what's going to happen. If that's built into it, it's taken care of.
Yeah.
If it's not built into your subsidy, you can still do respite, but you would pay for that out of your own pocket. So when they ask you if you want to have respite built into your subsidy, you definitely want to do that. Also, you want to look for things for like hospitalization, the state insurance. Even though we carry additional medical on our kids, we still keep the Medicare part of our insurance, and that's built into your subsidy. That type of thing. Yeah, Medicaid. Yeah, not Medicare, Medicaid.
Yes.
For your state. So you want to make sure that that's continued in your subsidy. Also, you want to be very, 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 what do I want to say? You want to be kind of stern. And if your child has medical needs, if your child has elevated behaviors, if your child has any of those things and they're currently receiving that pay, so you're already receiving pay for medical or elevated needs, you need to make sure that your subsidy worker includes that in your subsidy. And this is why. Those kids require a lot of appointments, a lot of additional things, a lot of additional, what do I want to say, like tools.
Yeah, just care in general.
Yeah,
Just
tools that
more
you need. And
maintenance.
so, right, so you want to make sure that they're paying you for that, because you're entitled to that. And sometimes we've noticed with the subsidy worker, they just kind of write it out as and we say, we were told, oh, but you receive elevated, so you need to make sure that you're getting. And then when we spelled it out, oh yeah, we want to do that.
Yeah, and on our state, we have very long subsidy contracts, and I always ask my families to go through it, like read through it. If you have questions, please ask me. Don't just sign it. Ask me a question, and don't be afraid to ask your worker, like, hey, what does this abbreviation mean? What does this mean? Because if you don't know what that abbreviation means and you're expecting medical pay, then that abbreviation could mean that you're only getting base rate maintenance, and then the worker should go back and fix that, because the worker knows your child. Like, they know if they have extra needs that have to be paid out. Sometimes it can be really difficult to get that subsidy payment that is at a higher rate. In our state, we have to do like staffings is what they're called, and it's just like a meeting where we discuss the concerns and how these are probably long-term concerns, and that we should be making sure that the parents get the right amount to care for them in the long run.
Right. These laws and bills and things were put in place so that more people would foster and adopt from our system. And so those are tools that you'll want to use when negotiating. And the best thing to do If you ever have any reserves or questions or are concerned about anything that you're signing for your subsidy, usually the attorney who's going to do the adoption, if you call that person, they will usually answer those questions for you, and that's a good, knowledgeable person to go to if your worker's not quite sure or you're getting an answer that you're not quite sure how that works.
And when we're talking about adoption attorneys, let's just derail a second. Make sure you're finding somebody who is knowledgeable in the area of adoption in your state. Not just any attorney like the friend down the street who you know is an attorney.
Right.
You want somebody who does this on a regular basis because you want to make sure you're getting the best for your time and for the money, and you want to make sure that they know what they're doing, because if you mess up anything, it'll go wrong.
Yeah, and all of our attorneys that we've used for our adoptions have done literally hundreds and hundreds of adoptions. And because they've done hundreds and hundreds of adoptions, they've gone really smooth, and we've had not any hiccups so far. When we come back, we're talking social media. We're answering your questions today, right here.
The conversation starts this week on Foster Life.
Monday. I'm feeling good for a Monday.
Totally.
Yeah, but I'm ready for the weekend because we always have fun stuff planned on the weekend. So we are talking social media today, and we've kind of been scrolling through, looking what you guys are asking online. Good question comes from Jennifer in Indiana. She wants to know, her question is, if you're a licensed foster parent and you take in a family placement, does it work differently than a normal placement? So how would we answer that?
So I'm going to speak in generalizations because, again, each state is a little bit different with kind of how they follow this rule.
Right.
If you were licensed as a foster parent before you took the family placement, then there is no difference. You don't have to worry about anything.
Right.
However, if you are licensed after the family placement is placed with you, so you're considered non-blood relative or blood relative or kinship, whatever your state calls it, that looks a little bit differently because you're only licensed to keep those kids in your home. You're not licensed to keep other kids in your home. It's not easy to transfer your license to a traditional foster home license, but generally, if you're already pre-licensed before that family placement comes into your home, there is no difference. You treat it just like any other placement. You wouldn't have to worry about anything.
Emily wants to know, what do we do for social security numbers once you've gotten, so her adopted son's birth certificate has come in the mail, and now they're wanting to get a social security card and all of that stuff. So how do we do that? Where do we go, and what do we need to do?
This can be a long process. I'll say that. Generally, you have to go to the Social Security office. You have to sit and wait. You need to take your adoption decree. You need to take your new birth certificate.
Yep.
If the child's over a certain age, generally they want them to come as well. And then, in order to get a new Social Security number, there has to be extenuating circumstances, generally. And I believe there is an age limit to when they can get that new Social Security number. It's somewhere like 5. They have to be 5 or under, something like that. Or an extenuating circumstance like the child was in care and it can be proved that the parent or another relative has utilized their Social Security number for something inappropriate.
Right. Or if the parent has, during your time, so say you had them for 2 years and the parent tried to claim them on their taxes and do all of that, that would be a circumstance that you could tell them about so that they would get that number changed. Now, our attorney here in Missouri, and when you meet with your adoption attorney, this is probably the best person to ask, but our attorney always says, when he's writing everything up for the adoption. Now, are you going to want that? So you want a new Social Security number, or are you going to use the old one? And that's a good time to address those questions with your attorney to see how that goes. But the place you're going to start is at the Social Security office. We always go early before they open so that we can take a number and we can get in there. Yeah, we can get there. Oh yeah, it's a busy place. Another one, Brittany wants to know about car seats and kind of the stuff. And car seats have changed a lot in the last couple of years. Guess what? In March,
It's changing again.
my best friend in the whole world, her name is Christy, and she is coming from Illinois, and she's certified in car seats.
Nice.
And that's what she does. And she trains people and she shows people how to buckle them in right. She talks about expiration dates. Did you know your car seat has an expiration date? She talks about if that car seat's been in an accident, by law, you can't use it anymore.
No. Which is why you shouldn't buy a car seat from a yard sale or,
Exactly.
marketplace, nothing.
Yep, you always want to go new. And then she's also going to talk about all these weights and ages and sitting frontwards and backwards. That's all changed. And so she'll be here in March, and she's going to be talking all things car seat. And I think she'll be here when Mimi is here, who used to be my old co-host. And so it should be quite a party then. Coming back, we're going to be talking social media today on
Hi, join us for Mama T's Cooking Big. Weekdays.
Welcome back to Foster Life. Today we're on Foster Life. And we're doing social media. It's kind of fun to listen to see what people are talking about out there. Corey in Montana, I could use a pick-me-up. We are a year and a half into being licensed and have had one placement for 6 days. It feels like a huge waiting game. It's hurry up and get everything done and nothing to happen. I'm grateful that the kids in our area are taken care of. So, but we aren't getting calls. But at the same time, I know that there's others in the area that are getting calls. It feels pointless at this moment.
Corey, I know it's frustrating to wait. I know that. But first thing I'm going to say is embrace the silence now while you can.
Right.
Because the minute you get a placement, it might get a little crazy.
Right.
The second thing I'm going to say is it's probably likely that you're just kind of getting passed over because you're far enough down the list. Give your licensing worker a call and say, hey, I haven't had a placement in a really long time. Is there something going on? Am I behind on training? Is there something I can do? Because I'm really eager to be a placement. I'm eager to be part of the system and to do what I can, but I'm not getting any calls. And then a lot of times the licensing worker, when they get a call, I know as a caseworker, when I call a licensing worker and I say, hey, I have a kiddo I need placement for, they might even suggest you and be like, hey, this place hasn't had any kids for a while. They're really ready to be a placement. Like, go ahead and give them a shot. They'll probably say yes.
Mm-hmm.
And just be mindful, like, you say you're not getting any calls, but be mindful that sometimes when you turn down one call, they won't call you again. So keep that in mind too.
Yeah, so, and I think that the really good thing that you said is keep your licensing worker in the loop, and maybe just, email, text, or whatever. I know our licensing worker came to us and said, Rob, you're home all the time, and you seem to like kids. Would you be interested in taking a baby? And so I said, yeah, I think we would be open to that. And it was within days that we had a baby. So keeping that line of communication open with the licensing worker, and then like Courtney said, then when they get the call, they say, oh, I just had a conversation with somebody who would really like to have a child. The other one is Beth in Montana asks, she has just finished her adoption of her grandson. And so Beth is wondering, whose name does she use on the tax return? Do you know?
I believe it's whatever name is on the current Social Security.
Right. So if you have not physically went down to the Social Security office and gotten everything changed over, you're going to use the name, the name that they came with. If you've been down to the Social Security office and you've done all the paperwork and you have a new Social Security card with the new name on it, then that's the name that you're going to use on that. And the biggest thing is not which name. The biggest thing for the tax system is that the name matches the Social Security number.
Yep.
If those don't match, it automatically gets kicked back.
You don't want to go through an audit.
Right.
It's not fun.
So that's the best thing that you can do as far as your taxes are concerned.
While we're talking about taxes,
Yes.
don't forget to have your tax guy look into the adoption tax credit if you've adopted within the 2018 year. I don't know a lot about taxes, but I know that if you adopted before 12/31/2018, there is a credit on your taxes that you should be able to claim.
Right, and so here's the deal. Most tax places, because we went through this and now we have to go back and get our tax credit, they will tell you, well, this is if you were paying for the adoption out of your pocket and your mileage and you would pay the attorney's fee. No. And if they tell you that at H&R Block or any of the tax places like they told us, they need to go on and research. And I just read a study from the federal government that says any foster parent who adopts a child, whether they paid for it or not, gets this credit. And so they might try to argue with you, but they just need to go on and research, or they can call the federal government and they would be more than glad to answer that question about that credit for adopting. And the reason why that's so important, that was an incentive. There was so many people in the 80s that were going to all these other countries and adopting that we weren't adopting the kids right here in the United States. And that was built in as a perk so that people would adopt here in the United States instead of going to another country.
And there's a caveat, a little footnote, that it's technically not a cash credit.
Right.
It is only like a credit if you have liability. So like if you owe $10,000, that credit would apply to bring that number down.
Right.
But it's not like cash in your pocket,
Right.
typically.
Like your dependents.
Right.
All right, so we are talking social media. We're going to hit a couple of more when we come back right after this.
The real national emergency is foster care. Learn more today.
We're talking everything social media today, and it's been fun. We've been going on these different groups here that are through Foster TV, and a lot of you have seen our videos because we post them there as well. We try to give you help and advocate for you and all of the things that we do. So we are now in the LBGT Foster Adoptive Parent Support Group, and I'm looking here at a story, and they want to know they're starting to take kids in, they're getting ready for an adoption, and they're wondering what their kids should call them because it's a same-sex couple.
I think this one's really close to both of our hearts.
Right, exactly.
I think I love this question.
Yeah, so what we did, E and I, when we had our first kid, he was concerned as to what to call us, and so we let him pick, and it's just kind of carried through with all of our kids. So they call me R-Dad, because my name is Rob, and they call E, E-Dad. So R-Dad and E-Dad. And then some of our little ones, they call one of us Daddy, and they call the other one Dad. And so some of our little ones, but they also call us our dad and E-Dad too. So growing up in your home, what did you do?
So I mostly lived with my mom, but then my dad and his husband lived across the country, and I called my dad Dad,
Right?
and I called his husband, my stepfather, Pop, which was kind of like a family thing. Like he had called his stepdad Pop, and his stepdad had called his stepdad Pop.
Oh,
and so
yeah.
it's just like this generational name that we
Right.
chose to go with. And I think that's really good, but I think it's also really important to let the child choose.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to call me? And then just give them options. Like,
Yeah.
You obviously don't want them to call you something inappropriate,
Right.
but give them a lot of choices. What do you like? What does your partner like? And then just offer them up.
Right.
And they might not last. It's kind of like saying, well, my kids are going to call my mom Grandma, and then inevitably it becomes Granny or,
Right.
Mama or something like that.
Exactly. And it's kind of funny if you hang out at our house a lot, you'll hear the older kids say, we need to ask the dads.
Yeah.
The dads, or the moms. And so it's just something that you want to be really open about, and it can be a fun process, but we love that Robert picked our dad and E-Dad, and all of our kids have just carried that through. And when we come home tonight from the studio, you will hear yelling, our dad and E-Dad are home. And so that's a good one. The other one was, do you remember our other question?
It was about they are getting ready to adopt a couple kiddos, and
Yep.
they have struggled for a really long time with being able to get pregnant, and coincidence beyond coincidence, they just found out they're pregnant, and just how are they going to tell their new kids this?
Right, so reading the post, it sounds like there's a little bit of concern that the 3 boys that they're adopting might feel kind of pushed out or
like they're not really
shrugged.
part of the family
Right.
now that they have a baby of their own.
Yeah, that's coming. And so she's wondering, how do we break the news to our kids, and how do we make this exciting for them so that it's just an exciting time for all of us?
I would say make the announcement exciting, make them part of it. Those I'm a big brother, I'm a big sister t-shirts.
Yep.
Those are wonderful. Let them come to OBGYN appointments and be part of that process and part of picking out a name and like how you want to incorporate this baby into our family.
Right.
And that's the important part is this is our family and this baby's coming into our family.
Right.
How are we going to make them feel like they're part of our family?
Exactly. And the gender release parties
Yes,
that they
that's
usually
fun.
have with a group, it might be something that you just want to do as a family. And then if you still want to have your big gender party, with your grandmas and aunts and uncles, then you do another one that the whole family, but the first one, maybe just have the kids and you and your spouse have that gender party and make it just intimate and special, and then you can all plan a bigger party.
Yeah, and help them choose everything. Like let them do most of the choosing. Like what's the nursery gonna look like? If it's a boy, what color are we gonna paint it? If it's a girl, do we want to know? Like, do you guys want to know if it's a brother or sister?
Right.
Like mom, we want to know if it's a brother or sister, but do you want to know?
Right.
And if you do want to know, or you don't want to know, what color are we going to choose? Yellow, green, gray?
And if you have little kids, also one thing that we've done is like they pick a stuffed animal to give to the baby, and so they have a connection right there that Rosley will tell you that used to be his, and now it's our other babies or whatever. So you can, I think that's a really cool thing that you can do as well. Also having their picture in the nursery, making them a part of that nursery somehow, figuring out how they can be a part of it, and when they walk in, that they feel a part of it.
Yeah, the most important thing is just reminding them, we chose you to be part of our family. That's not changing just because there's going to be another member of our family.
Exactly.
Like, this new member of our family is just another person that we're choosing to keep around.
Right.
You know, like that sounds a little weird, but in cases where children are adopted, that's sometimes the easiest way to put it. Like, this is another member of our family. Yes, it's growing in my stomach or my belly, whatever you want to say in that, you know, arena, but we're choosing to let them be part of our family.
Right. And that we will be together 100% forever, and that this is our family unit, and we're always going to be there for each other.
And we need your help. We need your help to bring this one into a loving environment because we love you so much, and we want you to love this new child just as much as we love you.
Exactly. And then when that child gets there, just letting them, you know, for our little ones, hold the bottle, hold the baby. Our boys, they just feel like they're a part. If you're changing a diaper and you just say, hey, can you run this out to the dumpster for me? Just by doing that, they feel like they're a part of that process, and just making them, you know, feel a part of
Give them a job.
this new being. Yeah, and give them a job and let them be a part of that.
Yep.
It's been fun
Yeah, this
going
is the
on
best.
the social media and seeing what you guys are talking about. And that's where we get show ideas. So if you have a show idea, always email us at producer.fostertv@gmail.com. Also, if you'd like to share your adoption story to encourage people to adopt, or to encourage people that are in the middle of adoption, or somebody who is considering adopting a foster child, and you want to share your story here in Missouri, get a hold of us at producer.fostertv@gmail.com. I'd love to hear your story and maybe give you the opportunity to come and your family share their adoption story as well. We're going to do those twice a month
It's gonna be
on
great.
Fridays, and I think it's good. If you haven't seen the Haddock story that we did last Friday, it's an amazing story, and you'll want to check that out as well. March 2nd,
Yeah, we're gonna be live.
live in Branson, and the whole gang's going to be there. Courtney, Mama T, Rosley, Tristan, and myself, and we're going to have prizes, food, indoor putt-putt golf, which should be good. You can be a part of our studio audience, and you can meet all of us, and we would love to have you in our studio. I think it's going to be a good time, and all of the proceeds, so it's $5 to get in for foster families, but all of those proceeds go back into the foster system, and that's what we want to do. We do this as volunteers here, and we're so glad that you joined us today. I hope that you learned something. And stay tuned. Wednesday, it's Courtney and I, because Tristan's on vacation. See you later.